Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's episode was recorded on September the 10th, 2019. I'm your host, Gaming Psychologist, and with me, as always, the devilishly dastardly...
The Caffeine Rage.
On today's show, we will of course be discussing the games that we played this week. The Nemesis system and Codemasters Grid reboot makes for some dramatic racing. Valve announces Steam Library update and dev tools. A Madden 19 logo shows up in Madden 2020, or 2020?
20's all the way down.
All the way down. Shenmue 3's refund process is starting soon, but it might take a while. EA's infamous defense of Battlefront 2's awful grind wins a Guinness World Record. There is an official KFC dating sim, and Colonel Sanders is a cute anime boy. We'll have our Steam community corner... Fuck, I was too excited about the anime boy. We'll have our weekly community corner and a Steam weekly discovery queue. Timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Good evening, Rage.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm doing okay. It's been a floury week. I had a 10-pound bag of flour that I was mail ordering in. Kind of exploded my shipment. So, yeah, that took ages to clean up, so I didn't get to play many games.
Are you diving right into games we played? Is that like an instant segue?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay, sure. That's fine with me. We won't waste any time this week, which is very odd. And I'm saying that as I waste some time. What game did you play this week, Rage?
I was part of the community game night, and we played Sea of Thieves, or more Sea of Thieves played us, I think, because... I have some mixed feelings about Sea of Thieves. It's one of those games that it feels like a wiki game. Mm-hmm. It does not explain a damn thing, but also it honestly doesn't feel like there's a lot of depth to the game. It's more sandbox, which is kind of the antithesis of a wiki game, because typically those types of games are, the reason why you need the wiki is that there's so much information that it can't really be presented in a tutorial and have, a decent runtime. Instead.
Yeah. So Sea of Thieves, in case you are unaware, dear listener, is a pirate open world game, pirate-themed open world game, where it's you and either a group of friends and or random people get on your ships and sail across what I think is supposed to be sort of a Caribbean adjacent set of islands. And there's some various factions with missions that you can do. Apparently there's a storyline. Like once you do a bunch of grinding, there's some like in-game stuff that involves a little bit of story. But I only found that out when I was trying to figure out how to even start a quest last night when we were playing. But it's silly and wacky, and it's made by Rare, or developed by Rare. So it was supposed to be, when it released, like, Rare, the first game they've made, and it's going to be great. And I hated it when it first released, because I had Xbox Game Pass on like a trial or something, because I think that Sea of Thieves debuted with the Xbox Game Pass, and so you could get Game Pass for $1, and they had just recently started the Play Anywhere program. So I had Xbox Game Pass, and I could download Sea of Thieves on my PC through the Windows Store. So I played it that way initially. I can do a tiny bit of comparison. There's not really that much of a difference on the lower end. There's a lot more graphics options. The game seems to run better on my PC than it initially did. So I assume they've done some tweaking and fine-tuning over the last couple of years. And there's a little bit of additional content that I can see. But otherwise, the game feels basically the same. The biggest difference is that instead of trying to play it by myself, I played with you and Jim.
Yeah, and... I think what was really the buzzkill was there at the end to me, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, so the game being primarily a sandbox was actually a lot of fun. There's a lot of little systems you can play around with, like fishing and cooking. Obviously
cooking
is stuff.
It's just timing. You have to just sit there and watch it cook.
then there's lots of stuff you can do on board the ship. You can launch yourself out of cannons. You can shoot like a little grappling hook thing. And you can actually reel in a person with that if you shoot them. We discovered that right there at the end, and that's kind of silly and fun. And then there's all of the piratey stuff. You can sail your ship around. And I had the most fun with that last night because the way that it works is that one person can't sail a ship really. The smallest ship...
Or the galleon, at least.
Yeah, the smallest ship, which is a sloop, is designed to be used with 2 people. One person can sail it, but if you get into combat, like, you can't shoot the guns and sail at the same time and repair and things. It's a nightmare. But the 3 of us were on the galleon, which is the largest ship. There's a 3rd ship now. Originally, there was the sloop and the galleon, a little ship and a big ship. And now there's one that I think is in the middle. But I just went with the galleon because I knew it from before, and there were 3 of us. But on the galleon, one person is just driving the boat, and they can operate the sails on the very back of the ship. There's 3 sets of sails or 3 masts, but the main mast in the like dead center of the ship blocks your entire view. So you can't really sail. You have to rely on other people to call out headings and directions, and you've got a compass. And I was the one who was doing the sailing, and between you and Jim, you guys were navigating me around, and you spent a lot of time up in the crow's nest. Like, you were the main navigator.
Yeah, trying to navigate you at least because because it's a sailing ship, it behaves very sluggishly.
Yeah, I will say the sloop, having some experience with it from previous, is a lot more responsive, a lot faster. But the galleon is she's just a big girl. She got a fat ass. It takes a long time to get that ass turned around, and also a long time to stop without just dumping the anchor.
Even then.
Jim was primarily the anchor man, and he was operating the front 2 pairs, or the front 2 sets of sails. I have no idea what the nautical terms are for a lot of this stuff. I know my difference between port and starboard and bow and stern. Yeah, the go fast sheets. But I don't know like what the technical terms are for each of the masts. I'm sure there's, a different name for each of them, but please forgive me if you are someone who is a fan of sail or sailing.
Yeah, don't make us walk the plank.
But so Jim was doing that, and then he was primarily on the guns the couple of times we got into combat. Well, I guess we really only got into combat once, and then we shot some cannons at things for funsies. That whole aspect is the most fun, honestly. Like, I really enjoyed, like, where am I going, guys? Do I need to go port, starboard? It's like, oh, the island dead ahead. Drop the anchor, Jim. Drop the anchor. We run into the island, run aground. It's like, oh, we were too slow. We fucked up. We only had one good parking job.
Yeah.
All of the rest of the time, we rammed into something, or we weighed anchor, or dropped anchor. We dropped anchor far away. But we had one time when we pulled up, not perfect, but really well up against an actual dock. We were all very satisfied with that.
Yeah, then it turned sour.
Yeah. So we played for like 2 hours, maybe a little bit more. And we spent the first 90 minutes, give or take a little bit, kind of getting our feet wet. But
getting our sea legs.
Yeah, getting our sea legs and kind of figuring out, okay, how do we do stuff? How does this work? Because, yeah, there's no tutorial. There's no tooltips. There's some, like, level 0 quests that you can get that I had from when I had played by myself. But, I mean, you guys just jumped in and went straight onto my pirate ship, and away we went. But they don't really tutorialize anything. They're just, like, supposed to be really easy. So we tried one that was to go kill some skeleton pirates.
Yeah, I'm assuming that you also would have had a map for that, and since you couldn't find the map, we went to where it showed, hey, there's enemies on the map. Okay, let's go with that. And that ended up poorly.
Well, thankfully we did die, but we didn't die fighting the enemies. We ran over something in the water.
Yeah, like a mine or something.
Up. Yeah.
Like maybe they dropped an explosive barrel.
Possibly, and then we ran it over. I didn't think about that. That would have been a good move. Because we were in a larger ship than them, and they rammed us, but then they ran away. So I don't know if those were human players, or if they were an AI that was fucking off to go do something else. But That would make sense because we were trailing behind them quite a ways, and then we could have ran over an explosive barrel.
Yeah, and if that was human players, maybe what happened to us was our comeuppance,
Possibly. But and then we ran into a Kraken. Although it didn't do anything, we shot it with a cannon a couple times, and then we ran away.
Well, we kind of died before anything really happened because it was shortly after that the front of our ship fell off.
Yeah. I got taken down with the ship and I drowned.
I got sucked down, but I was able to escape, and then I just embraced death.
I went down into the hold. I was like, I can save this. Nope. I'm dead.
As you were saying that, I could save this. The main deck was underwater.
I didn't know that. So we sank. We came back up. We were like, how do we actually do mission stuff? So I looked up and there's a map that shows up in someone's inventory. And so I had the map, and then we were able to use the map to locate a treasure chest on an island. So we went to the island.
But there was somebody camping the island waiting for someone to show up, and they followed us back to port and blew us up.
Yep. So we got while
screeching us the entire time.
Yeah, I had muted chat so I couldn't hear the screeching. But we got 2 chests off that island, and we were all happy. We were going back with our treasure. The one time we parked our boat good, you get one of the chests and you go to sell it, and I'm down in the hold. And I'm like, oh, there's some damage. We must have ran into something earlier, and so I'm fixing it. And then I blow up. And I didn't know what happened because I didn't have voice chat. And then you're like, oh, they're killing us. Or whatever. And they sank our ship. And that kind of killed our mood for the rest of the time that we played. Because we found a really good treasure. And so we brought it back and sold the good treasure when we respawned. But, I mean, that killed it. We were having, I felt like a really good time. I was enjoying myself a lot. It was just wacky, good fun. And we were just hanging out, doing stuff. And then all of a sudden, here's some players.
Here's some players that know exactly what they're doing and are working together because there's 2 or 3 of them. Yeah.
And Jim, he was frustrated. He was complaining, understandably. I'm not making fun of Jim. I was upset too, but I'm typically more quiet about that kind of stuff. I was frustrated, but he was complaining about seal clubbing and how that it was just it sucked all the fun out of the game. And we spent a little while just chatting on the island where we respawned, and I was about to go to bed, and you're like, ooh, I found this treasure. What is this? And it was worth 1,000 gold for each of us. So we sailed.
So that was a little bit of a pick me up, but I'm still really soured about the game because of that.
Yeah.
Because in such a teamwork focused game and such a skill focused game, having it where you could be easily skill clubbed. I mean, I got one shot by that guy with the shotgun. And in order to afford a shotgun, you have to do a lot of questing in order to build up that money.
Yeah, in order to grind it out.
I mean, all the weapons are cosmetic outside of their type, but at the same time, it's not cheap. And they just announced that they're putting in, they announced what the microtransaction prices are, and they're not micro. They're not micro in the slightest.
Nope. But I mean, to a certain extent, if someone catches you out and about randomly, okay, that sucks. But I might can understand it a little bit better. But we were docked at port at a friendly port,
quite literally called Sanctuary Island.
Yeah, and they sank our ship and stole our treasure chest.
Yep.
So I mean, just fuck that. If there were safe zones, if there were either certain docks or maybe all of the friendly docks had a safe zone around them where that if you got there you were safe, then I could handle the PvP aspect of it, I think, a little more out on the sea, because there's this whole we could stay and fight, we could run away. If they board us, we can.
I got shot in the middle of town. So.
Oh.
Yeah,
I was not even a safe zone you're not even safe on land.
No, I was on land in the middle of town, and he shot me right point blank in the head. So that's why I was pissed.
That was no fun. I mean, I genuinely had been enjoying the experience. It's not a great game, but it is a game that can generate a lot of fun if you're playing with, a group of friends and you're just looking to relax and maybe knock out a few quests. It's a very sort of
but
like how a lot of MMOs are.
Yeah, but the problem
a lot
is,
of MMOs.
Well, I was going to say the problem is, you want to relax and just hang out, do some quest. Well, good luck with a sandbox with other people in it.
Yeah, I think there's certain quests. If I remember correctly, the ones where you go and just kill pirates, you don't have to bring back treasure. And there's other quests that you have to bring things back, but they're not treasure chests. They're like quest-specific items. And I don't remember or not if it was the same guys who were camping out our island where we dug up the treasure. But there's certain things where you're supposed to bring back like animals, chickens, pigs, whatever. Capture those and bring them back. And I don't think they're valuable at all unless you're actually just turning in the quest. Although people could still grief you and sink your ship and you'd lose the quest.
Gee, people griefing you and making your ship explode?
But if you're not carrying a treasure chest, there might be less incentive for that. I don't know.
People are dicks.
People are dicks. So, at least I didn't have to hear the screeching. I did hear a little bit of it. I don't know if it's just so loud I could hear it coming through, I think, Jim's mic.
Yeah.
Or if there was a little bit of audio bleed. But I could hear the screeching just barely. But I had muted that from way back because I didn't want to talk to anybody or deal with anything. So, I don't. Is there anything else you want to say about the game itself? Looks, gameplay, anything like that?
It's one of those games that I wish that there was more depth to it than what there really is, because when you really look at the game, there's not a lot there outside of just, Pirate Sandbox. Which, okay, for some people that's fine, but there's, once you have a couple people that could work as a crew, that's it. It just doesn't feel like there's a lot of depth to the game.
Yeah.
I knew that there wasn't a lot of depth, but it's one thing to, know it, and there's another to experience it. And just looking at, okay, well, all of these weapons are literally reskins of the same weapon. They do the exact same thing. All the clothing is all cosmetic. All the ship stuff is all cosmetic outside of just the ship types. So, it just, I just don't see the point of it. Outside of just being dicks to other people, which, kind of hurts your player base in the long run.
Yeah. We had talked about potentially playing it again
next
Monday.
I'm done. Thinking about it? No.
Okay. Never mind then.
You and Jim can.
I don't know. I might. The thing is that it's I'm sure it's fine with 2 players, and this is nothing against Jim, but having a larger crew seems like it would be a lot more fun. With 3 of us was great. 4, I think, would have been fine. 2 people, if it was just me and you hanging out playing, that would be fine. But I think this is one of those things where it's the more the merrier. And the game loses appeal the less people you have to play with you. Except for the random people. All of this could be solved if there was a private mode. I wouldn't give a shit if there was some kind of restriction on it. You can't earn, achievements. Or you can't earn premium currency if you're in
because that's one of the things is that and that I think it's absolutely going to turn the player base incredibly toxic. Supposedly, according to you, it has a really helpful player base. Didn't see that.
According to me?
Or was it Jim that was talking about how supposedly on the subreddit they're talking about how all the players are really helpful to one another?
Oh, that wasn't me.
Okay,
it
was
Jim.
Talking about how nice the players are to one another. Well, supposedly in the the microtransaction update, whatever they're going to call it, they're also making a rare skeleton that can drop a minuscule amount of the premium currency. So in theory, you could grind out that $30 cosmetic ship. But let's be honest, you're not. If anything, that's feels like a psychological trick of, I have just enough that if I bought $5 worth of currency, I would be able to afford that ship instead of, playing for another 30 hours.
This is going to be like or this sounds like something that'll be like
It feels like a mobile
what was
title.
Well, I was gonna say like something like Star Wars Galaxies. I remember when they introduced Jedi to that game, and there was like one quest where you had to go in order to get a part for your lightsaber, and there were just like huge lines of people forming to be like, all right, who's next to farm the whatever creature to get the part that you need for your lightsaber? Except this will be worse because all of the people will be shooting each other. In Star Wars Galaxies, I think that it was in like a PvP safe zone or a PvE zone.
Well,
that quest
since
was,
we're
so
going
you couldn't
back
attack
that
each other.
far, back in EverQuest, all the epic weapons, each one of the classes had, well, actually it was several well, they weren't even the top tier weapons, but they were gimmick weapons. So, the one that everybody had to have that was of that class was the cleric one because it was a 96% res, if I recall correctly on the percentage, meaning that whenever you resurrected someone, they regained 96% of the lost experience, which was a big deal. Oh, and it was also manaless. The warrior's weapons back in the day was pretty good. Later classes that got added also got the epic weapon quest lines, and they typically had the more useful ones outside of just little gimmick things. But because the quests were so long and they were also sometimes going to raid areas, there was also at times a bottleneck of, okay, you need this item that's from a 36-hour spawn. That has a plus or minus of 10 hours. So, just have parties just kind of camped out, hanging out, talking. Which was really kind of the appeal of EverQuest, was it was almost a 3D chat room more than a game at times. Not something I think I would ever want to play now, to be perfectly honest. But maybe this is because I'm an old fart.
Yeah. We've had this, at least privately, this discussion before. I never played EverQuest. It was, not before my time, but really before I got into PC gaming. So I missed EverQuest. I know it still exists, and,
Yeah, but EverQuest,
but
it's not the same as what it was, because way back in the day, there was, after like level 20, 25, it became more and more impossible to be able to solo that game, so you would have to find parties. And the party system was rudimentary at best. And also, one of the appeals, and this is going to sound crazy, was just how big the world was. Going from one of the major human cities to the other, without some sort of transportation. This was just before, or just a bit after I started playing, is that when they added in more accessible fast travel. To get from one city to the other was an hour, going across several just absolutely huge zones and a couple very maze-like areas. It really sold the fantasy world aspect of it. But it also, kind of shows the weakness of easily accessible fast travel. I think that it was something that World of Warcraft did okay. It still had fast travel, but it wasn't instantaneous. And it still showed you the world. EverQuest, it just basically popped you up to a hub area, and then you were able to travel back down to any one of the major cities. So it was faster, but it made the world seem too small. It also made some of the areas kind of not unnecessary. Much like this discussion.
Yeah, I went on the Sea of Thieves subreddit and just searched private server or private, and there are quite a few people who are asking, essentially, hey, can we have private servers, or are we going to get private servers? And basically, like, laying out things similar to what we've said. Want to play with my friends, don't want to be griefed, and not all of them, but many top comments are like, yeah, way to fucking ruin the game. If you don't like it, go play a different game. I don't know why you would want this. That's not the point of this game. So that's where that's at.
Yeah. A good game ruined, huh? Or I guess I should say an okay game ruined.
Yeah. So, there's some stuff on here that says private servers are coming, but that was a post from 5 months ago. So, potentially, but their big update, like, this is their big update. So, if it's not in their big update, then I doubt it's coming anytime soon.
Yeah.
But, yes, there's another, it's an MMO, but there's a sailing game that I have played previously. That's not quite like Sea of Thieves in this respect, but it is a piratey, saily game. So maybe at some point we could give that a shot. I'd have to test it to see where it's at.
Which one was it?
Oh God, I can't think of the name of it.
Yeah, let's just put it this way: anyone that I found that asked about private servers, 36% upvoted.
It was. I'll have to look for it. I haven't played it in a long time. I played it several years ago. It might not even exist anymore. But it was an old sort of naval trading game that started out, I believe, on Super Nintendo and has evolved over the years. It's an Eastern, maybe a Japanese game.
Yeah, I'm just trying to... let's see if Steam has anything.
It was on Steam at one point. That's where I played it.
Tempest?
No, but that looks... Just looking at it, that looks neat. Open world action RPG. Weird. That looks neat. It's on my wish list.
Of course it is.
What else is new? I'll have to look for it later, and then I'll put it maybe in Discord, because I don't want to take up too much time trying to figure out what this game is. I mean, it might not even be on Steam anymore. I was living in my old house when I played it, so that would have been at least 3 or 4 years ago.
Well, here's another sailing game, Naval Action. It has some pretty mixed reviews, though. Looks like they're pushing some pay-to-win tactics, though, and some heavily priced DLC, which, yeah, I can see that. I mean, it's already a $40 game, and there's another 164 for all the DLC.
Uncharted Waters Online is the game that I've played. It says release date was 2018, which is not correct. Unless this is like a new version of the game and the old one is no longer on Steam.
Oh, well, it looks like it's still online.
Yeah.
I think I actually played this at one point. Hang on, let me take a look at... This looks familiar to me. I think I actually tried this out at some point. This was... in between when I played EverQuest and World of Warcraft, and went through a bunch of the MMOs at the time to see if there was anything decent out there that wasn't quite literally another fantasy MMO. There wasn't, or at least I tried.
Well, have queued it for install. I'm gonna try it and see if it's good. I remember it being good, but that was several years ago, and my taste in games
and also
has
looks like they've
added
a cash or have a cash shop, so gotta be careful of that.
Yeah. Okay. I don't have anything else to say about Sea of Thieves and the rest of this tangential conversation. So if you are done, I can move on to my 2 remaining games.
Well, there was one redeeming thing about Sea of Thieves when they announced the microtransactions. Or have you seen that?
No, I don't know. I've seen some stuff about the microtransactions, but I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, on the dev stream where they were talking about the microtransactions, they had a monkey.
Oh.
And the
Oh,
monkey,
and the monkey pooed on the guy's shirt.
he
on his
shit
shoulder.
on him. He threw up on him. That was one sick
Yeah.
little monkey.
Literally.
I mean, the monkey does represent the audience, doesn't it?
Yep. Definitely to an extent. Okie dokie. So, other games this week. I had 2 other games. I mentioned last week I've been trying to play a lot of Keymailer games that I've had in a backlog. And so I've been cranking through those. And I'm probably going to do, I mean, we'll see, but probably 2 a week for a while until I get all caught up with them. Or I might save a few for an off week when I don't have something. But, you know, a lot of times it's hard for me to play games, and when I get home or it's on the weekend, like I like to play the same games a lot. But it's good to have new things to talk about on the show. So, Microtown is the first one on my list of 2 that I played this week. Microtown is an indie game. I believe it's a single-person developer, and it is a medieval village city building management game. It's very simple, relaxing, easy to play. It's got a nice, calming soundtrack. It's using sort of a very retro or very minimalist art style. It's not ASCII like Dwarf Fortress, like it's not like that, but it is very sort of 8-bit isometric view. You can't scroll the camera in or out, which is fine. You don't really need to. And it's a fairly simple city builder. You start with just some basics. You can grow some food, build houses, cut down some trees, and mine some stone. There's a small tech tree that you work your way through by completing tasks to get research points. There is a building, it's a library or a print. It's either the library or the printing press that gives you continuous research points. But you can still get through the entire tech tree without that, just by completing challenges, which gives you big chunks of research to go through the tech tree. And as you go and increase your tech tree, you start to be able to sort of reuse the land more and more. Initially, you can only chop down forests, and there's only so many trees on the map before they're all gone. And I don't believe they regrow naturally, but after a couple of advances on the tech tree, you unlock the ability to grow and replant trees. There's multiple different types of crops, and some of them will, if they're not stored in a silo, will spoil faster than others, and can satisfy different levels of hunger. Like initially, you can only grow carrots and tomatoes, but later on, you can get potatoes and wheat to make bread. You can eventually get beekeepers, where you can collect honey and use that to create either food or alcohol, which you can serve at your tavern, which makes your citizens happy. There's a few basic mechanics like that. Like there's happiness. The more citizens you have, the lower their happiness rating is, unless you have things that give them happiness. So alcohol makes them happy. You can build a market square sort of area and place buildings around it. They're like little tent stalls that represent like a bazaar or market of some kind. And that increases happiness. You can have healers, and they can go around and heal people when they're sick, which increases happiness. There's a few other things too. There's some like luxury items that you get a little bit farther down the tech tree, which increase happiness. But essentially, the happier your people are, the faster they work. And the sadder your people are, the slower they work. And it increases their chances that they'll die. Which you have to have if you don't have people that... if you don't have a church with a graveyard, then your people won't get buried. And so that will continue to decrease happiness because there's dead bodies in the street. But it's not a complex thing like, SimCity or anything like that. Like you don't need, for example, hospitals because disease can spread. Like there's nothing like that. It's all sort of this happiness, unhappiness economy, and then food. Your people can die if they starve to death. So kind of they can overwork to death or they can starve to death. But otherwise, I don't think they can die from age. I've had my village for a long time working towards the final goal in this alpha version of the game, which is just to build a monument in your town square.
And then launch potatoes into space.
Woo! But otherwise, the game is very simple and fun. Everything, there are some basic things you can change, basic parameters, like certain buildings can have X number of workers from, 1 to 3, or certain buildings have a plot of land where you can plant crops around it or harvest trees in this plot. And so you have to, not have to, but you can move the plot around so you don't have to tear down and rebuild the building. For example, if you were like, oops, I'm a little too far to the left, or oh, there's some trees up there, I want my guys to go harvest them. That only extends so far. Eventually, if you want to move certain things, you have to tear down and rebuild a building. But there's some basic things like that. There's roads. Your people travel faster on roads. They tend to actually stick to the roads if it's in the direction that they're going, which makes sense. Even if technically it would be slower than them just running straight there, most people will take roads or pass to somewhere. So you can do some city planning and things like that to sort of try and lay out an efficient city and make sure you get good coverage for things like your taverns and your doctors and things like that. But a lot of buildings, there's no real range. It's like if you've got a woodcutter and a carpenter, the carpenter can be anywhere on the map, and he will go get wood from the woodcutter wherever he is on the map and bring it back to cut it up into planks, which are one of the building resources. There's a pretty complex web of resources, though. You can get tools, which are kind of a standard use item that increase efficiency. But in order to get tools, you have to harvest stone, copper, coal, and wood in order to sort of, be able to smelt and iron, in order to smelt the copper and iron down so that you can use those to make tools and have wood for handles and things like that. And there will be multiple steps in the process. For honey, there are naturally occurring flowers, but if you want to create beehives in a specific location, then you need to have your gardeners grow flowers and then plant those so that the bees can pollinate them and use that to generate the honey. And then there's another press that you have to build that the guys take the honey to and turn it from raw honey into usable honey. And then if you want to turn that into alcohol or medicine, you have to take it over to a different building for that. And so there's a pretty complex chain of things, but it's all fairly easily automated. And once you get it set up, it generally just works. You'll notice if you need more of something, like for example, happiness, if you want to have more taverns to increase your happiness, you can see if your happiness is in the negative, you build a couple of taverns, spread them out around your town. And then, you might need to increase production to go along with that. But it never feels overwhelming. It's not like, oh my God, I made this one change and now I have to uproot everything. Like in a lot of, city building or management games, it's not like, oh, this one change means I have to uproot my entire system because the design no longer works. It's just like, nah, stick some buildings over there. They'll, the guys will run it around and get everything taken care of. So it's very fun. It's very relaxing. The art style is very cute. I haven't completed a playthrough yet, but it's in very early access. There's talk of a bunch of different additional features along the road or down the road. But even as it is, I've gotten a pretty solid 3 hours out of it so far. It's probably going to take me another 1 to 2 hours to actually complete the statue and sort of air quotes win. I got it for free through Keymailer, but I would be totally happy to pay, maybe $5 for this experience. It's currently $8 on Steam. In its current state, I think that's a little much, but if that price holds and they add some additional features, more buildings or some more customization options with other things or new goals to work towards, you're on an island, so they could do something with the water, fishing or boats or something like that, or maybe there's an island chain that you can colonize, just a few things like that. I wouldn't want to get it too far out of the scope of what this game is, because the idea, even in the description, is like, a fairly simple, calm, relaxed game, village management game.
Well, they have said that the price will rise moderately according to this before the it releases from early access to reflect the additional content.
Okay. Depending on what the content is, would depend on what I would feel comfortable with the price at. Like right now, easy $5. If you like this sort of thing and you want a very relaxed experience, I could see buying it for the $8. Depending on what they add, I feel like that this could be a really, as long as the content they add is solid, I feel like this could be a pretty solidly priced, $15 indie game.
Well,
Maybe 20
it looks like
bucks
they're
with-
going more political with the, at least the bullet points on the early access box. Scenario and campaign-like mode with goals, more and expanded production chains, more in-depth villager needs and interactions, governing policy and perks, trading, and improvements to graphics along with more.
So I hope they don't change the graphics. The graphics are perfect.
Yeah, they
what this
remind
game
me of
is.
like a 90s DOS game.
Yeah, it's perfect. Trading could be fun. Governing policies and perks, potentially. More in-depth villager needs and interactions, that's fine. More and expanded production chains, that's good. Scenarios and campaign. There's like an infinite mode, and then what I'm playing is like a scenario where the goal is to build the monument. So, yeah, some of those things are good. I hope they don't change the graphics. I like them the way they are. The only thing that I would like all of your people look exactly the same, and that's okay. I just wish that there was like male and female peoples.
Well,
Or
the pixels aren't
some
big enough
kind
for
of
boobs.
diversity. Touche. But some kind of diversity, like different shirt colors or something. Me and my kid were just playing a game where we were like, he was like, well, what's that one's name? And I was like, I don't know, buddy. They all look the same. He was like, I'm going to call him Bob. I'm like, okay. And then
That
every time
one's
we
Bill.
move across the screen, the screen, it's like, hey, Bob. I'm like, no, that's not Bob. Bob's over there. And he's like, how do you know, Daddy? And I was like, I just know these things. So then we started naming them. And obviously, I didn't know shit. I was just making it up. But, that's one of those opportunities where it's like I can lie to my kid and he thinks I'm cool. So we've had a lot of fun playing it. So Microtown, great game as it is for like $5. With the addition of all these features, depending on how they play out, I might could see it being worth about $15 in the end. If it's too much higher than that, I don't know if it's worth it. But, I mean, Steam sales come around, so you could definitely pick it up on a sale. And then the other game that I played is called Railed. This is a puzzle game, a train-themed puzzle game. You have a randomly generated board or a random board. I don't know if they're randomly generated or if there's a bunch of different boards that it just sort of will pick one and throw it at you. And 4 different stations. There's like a train station, a factory, a rail yard, and something else that I can't remember. Maybe just like a warehouse or something. And a gold mine. And you place everything on the map aside from some initial tiles that block your path. They're mountain tiles. And some of them have different images, I think, to just reflect like different types of terrain. And otherwise, you place everything down on the map. So you'll place down the gold mine, you'll place down the factories, which you have to place one on each border, but you still get to place them to try and maximize your efficiency. And it's a puzzle game. So the little, if you look on the screenshots, there's a big X button at the center bottom of the screen. Pressing the X button stops a train that's driving by in the background, and out one of the cars will open, and out will come 3 different random track tiles, and then there's 3 tiles that you can purchase for various sums of money. But you build a continuous track from the gold mine to as many of your 4 destinations as possible, and you get bonuses for creating continuous rail lines. So if you just create 4 individual rail lines from the gold mine to each of the 4 destinations, you'll get a bonus for connecting all 4 of them, but you'll get a bigger bonus if you're able to connect multiple of the destinations in succession. So if you're able to connect all 4 to the gold mine through a single route, then you'll get a huge bonus for having a continuous rail line. Also, if you feel like all hope is lost for getting all 4 of them, or maybe even any of them to the gold mine, you get bonus points for connecting various destinations just together. And you get a certain amount of score for each of these things, and the goal is to build up the largest score that you can. It's just reflected in gold coins of like how much money you earn. That money that you earn can be spent on specific tiles that you can see on the screenshots. They're on the bottom set of tiles. And there's one that's always like a curved piece, one that's always a straight piece, and then one it's got a question mark on it. But what it does is it gives you a random tile that is guaranteed to connect two of your railroad sections together. So you don't know exactly what piece it's going to be or which one it's going to connect, but it's guaranteed to connect them. And they cost it costs 3 times as much as the standard curve or the standard straight piece that you can purchase. But you only get those 3 for each time that you do the puzzle. So if you use all 3 of them, then they're gone. There's also like bonus pieces that you get. So whenever you place them down, you'll get bonus score on your rail line. And then there's a coin that you can plop down on any space in the map that counts as a bonus. And if you move a rail line through that space that is connected to the gold mine or one of the destinations, you get bonus points for that too. So I typically stick it like right next to the gold mine. That way I'm pretty much guaranteed to get it. Otherwise, it's a fairly sort of straightforward puzzle game. Oh, I guess one other aspect is that there's different colors. If you look at the screenshots, there's different colors on the tiles. So you're limited in where you can place a piece based on what the color is. So you might have a curved piece that is the one that you need, but if it's not the right color, then you have to sort of burn it and try and put it in a spot that it's not going to interfere with the rest of your rail line and hope that you get another piece that you can use to go in that slot later. But it's good fun. It takes 5-ish minutes, 5 to 10 minutes to play a single round. The higher your score goes, the higher your level gets. There's a global leaderboard that it shows you at the end of every round, win or lose, like whatever your score is. You can see where you rank. I'm like just outside of the top 100. I don't know how many people are actually playing this game, but I'm just outside of the top 100 at this moment or all time.
I'm guessing. I threw a number out.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm 105. I've had a good time with it. It's definitely got some replay value if you're into this sort of thing. And it's definitely not a bad game. I like the art style. It feels very Papers, Please in the art style. The soundtrack also actually feels sort of Papers, Please inspired. So I don't know if they are drawing inspiration from that, or if they are just big fans, or if it just happens to be a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence, because if you look at the icon for it, it's not a hammer and sickle, but it's definitely in style of the Soviet icon, the Soviet symbol. And Papers, Please had a very Soviet feel to it, both in styling and soundtrack and everything. So, I don't know if it's inspired or coincidence. I could see it going either way. But I like that. I liked all those aspects of Papers, Please. So, the game's $5, and if you like puzzle games, I think this is totally worth the $5. If you're not into puzzle games, it's, probably not for you. But I do think it's worth the $5. And if you are interested in it, but you don't want to spend $5 on it, obviously Steam sales. I could see this easy being like a 99-cent or a $1 game.
So you would buy it for $1. Got it.
I'd buy that for $1. So it released August 30th. I've probably had this for 2 weeks, so I got it maybe right before release. I had actually played it 2 weeks ago, but this was just in sort of line for it to roll down to this week. But I've had fun with it, so.
Yeah, the name does remind me of another game that just came out, or came out into early access. That I think it would be like a perfect game night game.
What is it?
I believe it's Unrailed. I saw about it earlier. It's a cooperative track building game. You're just trying to build a track from one station to another. Very Minecraft-ish in gathering resources and in its general low poly art style.
Interesting. I'm in.
Yeah, take a look at the trailer real quick of that.
The first trailer or the second one?
First one.
Okay.
It gives you a good premise of what it is. Basically, it's 4-player co-op. I'm hoping it's online co-op, actually. Actually, I didn't check that. Yeah, it looks like online co-op.
Oh, is the train always moving?
I think after a certain amount of time, it starts to slowly move forward.
Gotcha.
So you have to coordinate your building and resource gathering, and also upgrading the train and protecting the train. And
Oh, interesting. And the level sort of expands as you go.
yeah,
On their shields? It looks
maybe some sort of
rocks.
maybe some sort of environmental hazard. I saw about this earlier today, and I believe, or at least it's the developer's first game on Steam.
This is very cool. Get a 2-pack for $30. I'm gonna see if it's on Keymailer and put in a key request if it is. Granted, I know that doesn't help anybody else out,
But definitely something to keep an eye on, huh?
yeah. Oh, it is. Oh, I was rejected. Okay, so I already put in a key for this game. Sad day.
Rejected.
All right, well, then I'll probably give it a buy, maybe on the next Steam sale. And it just came out, so it won't be super cheap, but
Hey, maybe that 2-pack will come down to a decent price, right?
yeah. I mean, I paid $20 for a 2-pack. Share one. Share a few. Get a couple of 2-packs. Share them. I don't buy very many games for myself anymore. Between Game Pass and the cajillion free games that I get through Keymailer.
Oh, that's neat. I was looking at their supporter pack. It has papercraft stuff. You print it out and cut and fold.
That's cool. That would be something that my kid would enjoy.
I'm assuming the QR code on these links back to the store page, which, fine, right?
Yeah.
It looks like it's on one of the feet of the penguin. It's on looks like the belly of the camel. So yeah, it's not obnoxious.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I like that. Sweet. Well, thank you for showing me that. I obviously saw it on Keymailer, but I forgot all about it, so.
Yeah. And who knows?
Yeah, those are my games.
Maybe we'll see it again during the Discovery Queue.
Possibly. But yeah, those are my 3 games, which one of them was a game that was shared with you, so I am good to go on if you're ready to go on.
I believe so.
Sweet. So, our first news topic of the night, the Nemesis system and Codemasters Grid reboot makes for dramatic racing. The main thing interested in this is hearing another game utilizing a Nemesis system. First of all, though, what's your experience with Grid? Just for the listeners, I know that
I've played the first couple. I started Grid 2 ages ago, but kind of fell off of it. But yeah, it is a pretty good. I would call it a simcade game. It definitely has some sim aspects to it, but it's not that far into the sim side of things. So yeah, I think it's a happy medium, and I've really enjoyed Grid. I didn't really care that much for Grid Rally, but I think it was just I didn't stick with it long enough to get over how twitchy it is with the controller, and I don't have Dirt Rally, which is the same, essentially a series, right? Or mini series. It's from the same developer.
I was gonna say, hey, I didn't know that.
I believe it's from Codemasters as well.
Well, you keep talking.
But I played it ages ago, Grid. So it's been quite a while. I know Autosport got just hammered on. Well, one didn't have an in-cockpit view, and the other one, it had an in-cockpit view, but they tried to do realistic and massive sarcasm quotes. So, they essentially put Vaseline on the bottom of the camera whenever you're in cockpit view, so to make it try to feel like you're focusing on the road. But the problem is none of the dials were functional.
So, Codemaster, F1 Series, the Dirt Series, and Grid.
So
So you were
essentially, they go vroom.
They do go vroom. They do other stuff too, but that is a huge percentage of their games is Dirt, F1, and Grid. Anyways,
But yeah,
so my experience with Grid is fairly similar to yours. I loved the first one and played the shit out of it. I played the second one, and while there's nothing wrong with it, to me it was just like, oh, this is more of the same at the time when I played it. And then I've played some games in the Dirt series. I think Dirt 3 or maybe Dirt 2, but nothing more recent. And then I didn't play Grid. What was it called? Autosport?
yeah.
I didn't play that. And then, yeah, I think Grid was is a happy medium between sort of sim and arcade. Because the original Grid, I don't think it did fuel and tire wear, but it had pretty good simulation sort of driving system if you set it up that way. And then it did do simulated car damage, and that was one of the most fun things about the game, was to just see how badly you could mangle the cars driving, at 200 miles an hour into a wall or something. That was a lot of fun. I spent a lot of time doing that. And then it had a rewind system, but it was limited rewinds. I think you had like 5
Yeah,
per
you
race or something like
you
that.
had like 5. Let's see. I have Dirt 2, Dirt 3, Dirt Rally, and Dirt Showdown. I wasn't really impressed with Dirt Showdown. Dirt 2 and Dirt 3 were pretty fun. I mean, I realized that they're not grid games and they're dirt racing games, but I'm a lot better off road.
Yeah, I have Dirt 3 on Steam, and then I think it's Dirt 2 I've played on Xbox 360.
Yeah, I think they gave away Dirt 2 and Dirt 3 at one point, and Dirt Rally is from a Humble Bundle somewhere. And I also have Dirty Bomb. I just searched
Nice.
Dirt.
But back to the original gist of this article, one thing that Grid did that I'm not seen in too many racing games, either before or since, that I'm aware of, is that they had a team racing system where you had a teammate that you could sort of that drove around with you, and I can't remember if they could earn skill or if you just had to hire a better.
I think if I recall correctly, you had to hire a better one, but you had also limited command over them, so you could tell them to push it or hang back.
Yeah, so they've got they're adding a nemesis system, which the initial part of that is that during races you can make nemesis if you drive aggressively towards them, and it says that you can get up to 5 during a race, but you would have to be extremely aggressive to make that happen.
But also,
But,
one other thing that we were talking about was essentially an AI director for this game and an AI pool. So, one problem I kind of always had with really racing games in general, but the Dirt series was kind of Dirt and Grid were the bad ones for it, was that certain racers were obviously intended to be a lot better than others. So it got a little bit boring seeing, okay, it's gonna be this guy first, this guy second if I don't get up there, this one third, then it starts to get a little bit murky. Occasionally they do, would goof up, but it felt very static. In this, whenever you start a race, they said 400 different, differently programmed AIs, or different, essentially AI profiles, let's be perfectly honest here, that it pulls from a pool, and that it has some sort of AI director to try to make the race more dynamic. Now, I'm a little concerned about that, just because is it also going to be trying to dick you over if you're doing too well as a form of rubber banding? And since typically racing games are pretty short or per race, are you going to see that much from it, or is this going to be focusing on longer races and the dynamic director or AI director? Is it going to try to just, kind of shake things up a little bit so it's not as monotonous? That's my big concern with that. That's the big one I had with this.
Yeah. I don't know. That's interesting. So there are a few games that I've seen that have done sort of AI that grow in skill over time. Forza 2 had this, and then they dumped it, which made me sad because it was one of my favorite parts about Forza. And then Gran Turismo, various ones have had a B-spec mode, where that you're more of a racing team director, leader, captain. I don't know what that is.
Overlord.
Yeah, but you could have teams of drivers in those. And then the AI drivers as well would gain skill over time, and then at a certain point they would retire, and then you'd have to get new ones. So you had a sort of a constant rotating team that you could do things with, and Gran Turismo did a lot more with it because you could have old drivers teach new drivers, so you could get them sort of skilled up a lot faster and then push them farther and so on and so forth. Whereas Forza, they would just sort of level up, and then as they level up, they would do better in races and could handle better cars, but then you would have to pay them more, a higher percentage of the winning for the race. So there have been games that did this before, and I know in Forza that when you were in that mode where you were having other drivers run the race, there was a pool of drivers that you would see, and you could see their skills going up as well because you could potentially hire them for your team. So there have been games that have used this sort of thing before. So if they do it in the right sort of way, particularly with the different profiles, because I think the only thing that it did in Forza and in Gran Turismo was that sort of the worse they were, the more mistakes they made, especially if you were trying to push them hard on the Gran Turismo side. In Forza, you couldn't really do much other than just like, hey, try to win. And you could tell them
when better
in the endurance races. Yeah.
Yeah, this is more of a thing that you usually see in like management games, like Motorsport Manager. You have AI drivers that you're pulling from a big pool and leveling up. The thing about the Nemesis system is if they limit it to a single race, that feels like it's kind of missing the point. If they had it where, at least the original grid, it was like a season of racing, and it would go year to year.
Yeah.
If the Nemesis system was applied to that, so as you kind of spoiled a driver's race, if you overtook them and was able to beat them in the championship in a rather dramatic fashion, they could become your nemesis and have it be more of a campaign long thing instead of a race long thing. That sounds a lot more interesting to me.
I would certainly prefer that. They do mention some stuff about teammates, how that they have their own sort of personalities, and a teammate might be so I'm just gonna read. It says one team might be very fast but infuriatingly stubborn, rejecting your orders for him to move up the pack. You can use the controller's D-pad to issue orders. Other teammates might just plain suck. In a sport rooted in repetition, hard graft, and tackling courses day after day, varied driver personalities should help keep things a little bit fresher. So that could be interesting too. Like, it could definitely be annoying if you had a teammate who didn't listen and it was like the shitty people on Forza the online races. But that would add an interesting bit of variety. Like, they might have personality quirks or things like that, which could play out in an interesting way. But I do agree that I would like the idea of a more season-long or year-long Nemesis system, where maybe in the beginning, you don't have any, but over the course of your first few races, based on your driving style and the sort of random drivers it pulls for you, develop nemesis. Or maybe based on the sponsorships that you get, you'd be more likely to have a nemesis.
Yeah,
or
like
if there's potentially racing companies.
Yeah, well, like if you're sponsored by like one brand of oil and their competitor's car, it like takes up the nemesis scale. Instead of having it be a binary on-off, maybe have it be some sort of gradual, like 1 to 10, where it slowly ticks up. And what they are describing is like the maximum rank, where they're trying everything to get ahead of you and cut you off and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Where you start racing rough with them, they start pushing back and slowly becoming more and more of a nemesis. And maybe have it where it's not flat out called nemesis. There's like rival or that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And we're workshopping a lot of ideas for a game that's pretty much said already.
Yeah. I mean, they could do a lot with it, though. And honestly,
This
I mean,
is
in
almost
this
pitch a
day and
game.
age, yeah. In this day and age, though, I mean, no game is set in stone anymore, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll just have to see. I mean, as long as it's not, utter trash and, like, broken when it comes out, I'll probably buy it at some point.
Yeah,
just see. It's
maybe
been
when
a
it
long
eventually
time.
gets humble bundled. I mean, let's be honest. I'm still pretty much doing all my racing with Forza, even though that's kind of cooled off just because, we've kind of, or at least I've maxed out outside of just going doing some of the storyline stuff.
Yeah, I still want to go back and 3-star all the storyline stuff and collect every car that I want in the game. Like, one of everything, every car that I like. I just enjoy playing Forza, though. Like, I played Forza for a while yesterday before we did game night. I played Forza for like an hour and a half just because I was doing some drift adventures, kind of working on that, working out some new drift cars and figuring out that system some more. I finally got the mixer point thing to work.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there's a lot of these like 24-hour free experience streams or whatever. And at one point, maybe that worked, but somebody actually has to be online streaming. Like, they can't be sitting still in a menu or anything like that.
Oh, so
In order
so that's
for the
legacy
points
stuff.
to tick down. So that's what.
That's legacy stuff. It's broken, and they just don't, never turned it off.
Well, I mean, so yeah, you do get the mixer points and the ranks, but you have to actually be watching people play the game actively. And there was some guy who was doing donuts, and it was like 24-hour donut stream. But what I've been doing is I've just, like, at work, I've had it up, and I'll just swap back and forth between the active streamers for Forza, and then just, tab out. I've gotten, like, 15,000 influence. It's not a lot. When you're first starting out, it would be a ton. Like, get you a big boost on the level up and get wheel spins and money and rewards and stuff. But at this point, I'm not going to do it anymore after I hit the max level mixer whatever.
Yeah.
Just because I want to get the specific rewards for those, and then the experience for the star card. Or stamps, or whatever they're called. Anyways, this has drifted way far.
Much like
It was
your
on its way
online
out.
venture.
Indeed. Nice. So moving on to our next news topic. Valve announces Steam Library Update and DevTools.
Yeah, so this is something we knew was coming for quite a while, was that they've been working behind the scenes on updating their client overall. And it's been a while since we've seen the last one, and, well, they finally got around to showing off some of the new library stuff. And, yeah, I do agree with you on what you said pre-show, is that, yeah, not sure how I feel about this. It feels very bulky, but then again, we're also in a privileged position.
Yeah, if I had maybe 20 games... okay, before I go on about this. Obviously, you can go to the link in the show notes, and you can actually see the screenshots that are up on the link. There's 4 that show off... I guess this is... I don't know if this is just like a mock-up or how it looks in its alpha state, doing testing. Because this isn't live. It releases into beta on September 17th. So 1 week from today's recording.
Yeah, pretty much recording day next week is when this will be out, so we'll be able to have another news topic about it.
Yeah. But anyways, it looks very much like the sort of the EA, a little bit of the EA one, a little bit of Epic's, sort of the way that they do the tiles. There's also a list over on the left side, but it looks like it's got expanded icons on it instead of just being a straight up text list.
You can enable icons in the Steam current version.
Oh, well, didn't know that.
Well,
I wouldn't like it anyways.
Well, the reason why I don't have it is that they don't have a cache file, so every time you reload Steam, it has to re-download all the icons. So, it's sitting there for ages for me.
Right.
Basically, anytime I move the scroll bar, it has to go fetch more icons. It doesn't. I don't know why they don't get cached. Oh, probably because it's was it designed for a system for this big a library, but
Yeah. But it looks like it's combining a little bit of the list view with the tiles, which already exists in Steam. You can switch to a tile view if you want, but it doesn't look like this. The existing one is a lot more cumbersome. But they're saying that it's going to utilize some sort of things that are like updates for games that you have played recently or frequently. Those will pop up in sort of like a news feed type thing. And then did it say something about announcements?
Yeah, they're introducing an event system that developers could tie their updates to, or big sales, that sort of thing.
Which already exists in Steam, actually.
Yeah, but it's buried. That's the thing. Yeah. And also, their news feed is just polluted with a lot of trash from Rock Paper Shotgun, from PC Gamer. Sometimes it's actually relevant. Sometimes it spoils games, especially whenever you get into some RPGs that just released. There was a lot of people complaining on... trying to think of... I think the fantasy game in France that's on Game Pass now.
The fantasy game?
Or not fantasy game, but yeah, medieval game.
Is it the one with the rats?
I'm going over to Game Pass because I didn't unload it. Well, Undertale was also a lot of complaints for it, but I'm blanking on it. It's where you're playing the blacksmith's son.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about, but I can't think of the name of it all of a sudden. Dang it.
Well, at least I'm not the only one. And I'm not even seeing it on the list for Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Yeah.
I was wanting to go Deliverance, but it's like, wait a minute, that's the subtitle. There was a lot of people complaining about Kingdom Come Deliverance, or there's a lot of people complaining about Undertale, saying that the newsfeed was spoiling the game for them. So be able to get rid of all the trash and all the fluff from it, and be it focused on developer-related updates. I mean, I realize that it's also going to tie into developers trying to pitch a Kickstarter for their next game, because it already happens. 911 Operator has a Kickstarter announcement for 112 Operator, which is the British version.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it already happens. So, if they can refine it a bit where it's more useful, then, I don't see a problem with it, really, as long as it's not, completely polluted. Yeah. But it also is very interesting in the fact that it would allow for, possibly have it where player campaign stuff could pop up if the developer gets behind it. Some of the lesser populated shooters, for example, I've seen occasionally the communities try to rally behind them and have okay, let's have a game night where everybody gets online at the same time and tries to boost up the servers. So be able to have that pop up could be interesting. Having noticed that, hey, there's a major update coming up to this game that you played 6 months ago. Could be interesting. Like I said, it all comes down to just how they handle it. I think that is the more important part of this instead of the library update. But I just hope they don't break everything with the library update.
I agree with you. But also kind of circling back around to where we very first started when you were talking about the conversation we had before the show, or before recording. I don't really like the look of it. I've never been a big fan of the tile system, period. Even when I had fewer games, I don't like big picture mode for that same reason as well. Mm-hmm. I don't like using big picture mode with the Steam Link whenever I use it. I just don't like that. I don't like the look of it. And I'm someone who keeps my games very organized. I kind of have to.
Yeah, mine's semi-organized, but then again, I think it would take me a week to be able to organize everything.
So it took me several days. I just was like, I'm going to do this. So I went through and sorted it, and then I just kind of stay on top of it when I get new games now. But anyways, I don't like this. I mean, I could live with it as long as it doesn't mess with kind of my current system. I could handle the tiles being there. I do like the idea because this reminds me the most of Discord on the homepage because it's got those little, things in your activity feed about games you've played recently or have played a lot, and you can see like what your friends are playing and everything like right there. And I think that's handy. And if they handle it sort of in that way, I'm okay with that. But I don't want that portion of it to just take over the entire library section. And completely ruin the entire like setup and flow that I have already. I also felt like that this was, I have no idea how long they've had this in the works on the back end, but I feel like at this point this is kind of trying to compete in a sense against like Epic and EA and things like that, because it's like, okay, well, they're competing with us in one way. I guess if we do something, even if it's, modify the way that your library works and give you a couple of tools, that will steal some headlines away from Epic and all of their exclusive news. Like that's what this feels like to me, and maybe that's just because I've become a cynical old man.
Yes,
and
the
like clouds.
Yes, the transformation is complete.
But that's how it feels to me.
Yeah.
It could just be the timing is wrong, which make the optics bad. But this
is something they've been working on for quite a while, though. I would say that the landing page, or at least what looks like the landing page, where it's nothing selected and it's just showing up, your recently played games. Maybe have it where they also throw in related games. So if you're playing Grid, maybe it would show like Grid 2.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine that would do really well for very related RPGs. Like, just got done with Divinity Original Sin. Oh, that's right. I got Divinity Original Sin 2 ages ago, and I was waiting on playing it until after I finished the first one. Something like that. But,
yeah.
As long as it's also skinnable, that's also the other thing. Is if they allow more modding of the library system, then I think it would also be really interesting. But right now, it's pretty much just cosmetic, maybe move around a few buttons and that's it. And one other kind of wish list item. Have you ever heard of, I believe it's Depressurizer?
No.
I'm just double checking. Yes, okay. So, Steam Depressurizer. What this is it scans your library and then uses the store tags to try to organize it. It did not work for me.
That's interesting.
Because I had my system, I like to have potentially games in multiple subgroups. So, like, if I have a good example would be like Mass Effect, I would want in like RPG, sci-fi, third-person shooter, that sort of thing. And Depressurizer wouldn't work with that system, so that's why I never used it. But if Valve could refine it, it could be interesting. But then again, it's relying on the store page tags, which we've seen is notorious about getting, trolled. Especially the psychological horror, dating, and anime tags are practically worthless.
Yeah.
So some sort of first-party solution for that, could be a little bit more hardwired. But, kind of a wish list item. But yeah, we are also in a rather unique position. I mean, I've had GOG Galaxy for a while, and it's somewhat unusable to me because it kind of lags. Something about throwing a few thousand items on the database just makes it go and freezes up. Can't imagine why.
Yeah, definitely a reason that would happen.
Actually, I haven't tried it in a while, so maybe they've made it a little bit more efficient. But yeah, I'm just concerned that they're aiming towards the average, which I think is sub 100 games. Actually, let's find out. Okay, the average user from Steam Spy. So when was the date on this? That's rather old. According to this, there are several answers here. This one's from 3 years ago. Somewhere in the ballpark of between 30 and 300. 30 and 200. So, yeah, I mean, that's still a lot compared to when we were kids, huh?
Yeah.
But even, if they gear it towards people that have, like, sub-100 games, they could be in trouble if, suddenly it starts lagging for everyone that has plus, 500. And this is very a 1% problem, but give me this. This is the one time I get to be the 1%.
The 0.1%. I don't think I have anything else to add. I mean, it'll come out next week.
Yeah,
we'll take a look at it.
Yeah, we'll definitely tour around with it, poke it with a stick. Yeah, see what it does. Come up with our list of grievances and then air them on the podcast, right?
Yeah,
we'll have
grievances.
I'll go get the aluminum pole. We'll have Festivus early this year.
Sounds fun. All right, moving on to our next news topic for the week. A Madden 19 logo shows up in Madden 20.
Yeah, this is just kind of a little fluff piece. A tweet kind of went viral of a video of someone sitting on the field and looking at the Madden 20 logo, looking up in the stands at the Madden 19 logo, looking back at the Madden 20 logo on the sideline. And
yeah,
it kind of just highlights just exactly how copy and pasted things are, where a logo could slip through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned earlier, like it could have been like a glitch or somebody like mistyped like one letter, and so the code didn't fully execute. Properly or whatever.
Yeah, actually, Aliens Colonial Marines, the AI for that game was absolutely, completely fucked because someone mistyped a line of code. Did you ever hear about that?
Yeah, I did. I remember Jim Sterling did like I mean, I'm sure other people were, but I saw Jim do
I mean, don't get me wrong, it didn't redeem the game, but it made it better. And actually, this past week, I didn't find an article for it, but there was reports of NBA 2K20 doing the same thing for the taskbar icon. It was the 19 logo. So, I think this kind of just highlights why do we need a yearly release for sports games?
I mean, the answer is
money. All the money. But I've always been of the feeling that sports games should be either a biannual or triannual release to have major feature updates, and then have the roster updates be DLC.
DLC or even just patches.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, come on, let's be real here, right?
No, I know. In my brain, I'm thinking they're so full of microtransactions. Just do the roster updates for free. But, why the fuck would they do that when they could charge money for them? I know.
Yeah, now we're grumpy old men. So which one gets to be Jack Lemmon? I call Jack Lemmon. You get to be Walter Matthau.
That's fine.
You get to look like a catfish. But
I probably kind of look like a catfish now, anyways. If I really sit down and think about it.
But yeah, it's just really greedy that we have Call of Duty's another good example of it, but sports games kind of are the highlight here of the annual release. Really is a scam, and it's just kind of something that I've ignored for the longest time because I'm not a sports guy. I don't really care that much about sports games, but just seeing some of the practices kind of going on here after really being awakened to them from all the loot box shenanigans, all the microtransaction shenanigans. it makes me really sit down and think, why, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't really play sports games either. Once upon a time, I played Madden because I had friends who did. So I played it just because it was a game I would play with my friends. And it was, every 2 or 3 years for the most part was when they would have the big updates. And my friends would, buy every one. And then I would just get, every other one or so. That was through high school and college. So I owned maybe 3 Madden games over the course of several years.
Yeah, and short of icons, was there any way that you could tell them apart?
No. I had no clue. Because I don't know anything about... I always just picked the Titans because I'm from Tennessee. And they were like, oh, the Tennessee Titans are shit. And I'm like, maybe that's true in real life, but this is a video game.
And they're going to be shit here as well.
I'm actually really good at sports games. I'm just this is going to sound so I don't know, conceited. I'm good at video games, most video games. And I used to be a lot better at quick, sort of twitchy type video games. And sports games aren't necessarily twitchy, but you have to make a lot of snap decisions. I didn't know shit about football, but I knew how to play video games. And so I'd spend a little bit of time with it, figure out okay, these are the plays where that you freak out the AI and how you can exploit issues with the game and things like that. And I could win regularly against my friends and against the AI. And I'm sure if I went to a tournament, the people who were hardcore into it would kick my ass. But in terms of playing with all of my friends, I didn't know shit about sports, but I was good at video games. So I could still win. So, yay, I have a skill. I'm still good at video games. Not as good as I was because I don't play them as much. But I can pick up any game and within probably 15 minutes be able to play it at an adequate level.
All right, let's throw Dwarf Fortress at you again.
Well, Dwarf Fortress is special. Most management games of whatever type are, I think, probably the biggest exception to that rule because there's a lot of systems you have to learn. But anything that's more, I guess, more gamey, that's more about
more action-oriented.
Reflexes. Yeah, more action-oriented. Or puzzle-oriented. I got that. So, anyways. I don't really have anything to say about this at all other than, ha.
Yeah,
you did it dumb.
Yeah, like I said, it's more of a kind of just a fluff piece just because it's silly, it's stupid, it's just absolutely foolish, which would be a really good segue to the other EA topic, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Shame we don't have it like that, but...
Well, we could change them.
That's all right. We could take a break from that, but... Yeah, I really think that, especially sports games, but the annual release needs to go away. Especially as these games get more complex, they get more in-depth, hopefully, which I realize, Madden, probably not. But I don't want to see Madden become essentially Call of Duty, where they have 3 different developers working on it, and it becomes essentially 3 separate games coming out every 3 years. It's maddening. Madden is maddening to me. But then again, right? We're not sports guys.
Yeah.
We don't get it. But I did like the sub-article on here that I didn't even catch. Snoop Dogg's new esports league definitely allows the use of cannabis.
Nice. Snoop Dogg, what?
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 Huh?
Well, moving right along.
Indeed. Shenmue 3's refund process is starting soon, but might take a while.
Yeah, so Shenmue 3. Is there any good news coming out about this game? Serious question.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm sure there are some hype pieces somewhere that are talking about I don't know, something, textures or something, but
Gotta go pick up all the semen at the dock, if you know what I mean.
hell yeah, get those semen.
But yeah, so they announced that they would eventually do refunds when they went Epic Game Store exclusive for a year. It turns out that Epic Game Store is turning into like a beta period for games. Who knew, right?
Yeah.
And eventually, after a lot of uproar, they said, okay, if you put in for a refund, you'll get it eventually. And they released the time frame for this. The process will start with an email to the backers in mid-September, followed by a 2-week-long survey period for a refund submission. If you miss that, you're shit out of luck. After that, it could take up to 3 months to receive the refund. In a later paragraph of this, the update warns that refund requests will only be accepted if they're submitted through the survey during the 2-week period. So, if you're going on vacation, better watch your email, and you better hope you have it, access to the email that you signed up with Kickstarter with, huh?
Yep.
Backers were also warned that the refund processing time may vary drastically across individuals, with a refund taking up to 20 business days or up to 3 months after making their request. I mean, what the fuck, right?
Yeah. On the, silver lining, tiny silver lining, at least they actually followed through on giving people refunds.
Yeah, but they're doing
the rest of this is utter garbage.
Yeah, they're doing it in the most douchebaggy way possible. I'm really interested in a statistic coming up. The games that took the Epic Game Store exclusive, what happens when Epic stops being a sugar daddy to these developers?
Yeah. I suspect a lot of it's going to dry up really fast if things don't change.
Well, I'm not just talking about Epic backing the games, but also just what is going to happen when they don't have to sell the games to make a profit. Because that's just something that's kind of stuck with me from a Jim Sterling video, was if you don't have to sell your game, what is your motivation of making a good game? And whenever it's time for the sequel or your next game, and what games you sold were either reviewed poorly or people just heard that through word of mouth that they were terrible, what happens when you don't have your sugar daddy anymore? I'm really thinking that we may see some closed studios.
I mean, you're probably right. I suspect that something will if this trend continues with Epic, that something will happen
or they'll just start buying studios like EA.
Yeah, or something similar will happen with what's happened with Steam and Greenlight. Like, they developed all these sort of little, what's the right word? Not shell companies, but
subsidiaries.
No, there's a term for it, for like a business that crops up to capitalize on
cabin
something.
Industry.
Yeah, thank you. I think there will be those of people, studios popping up to capitalize on this fact that Epic will, pay them enough money.
Yeah, but you also have to hit a certain threshold of popularity or hype before you're released to be able to get Epic's attention, and you can't do a release on Epic and be on another store, because they've already shut down a couple games trying to do that. Release simultaneously on Steam and Epic. Who knew? It wasn't about player choice after all. It was about being dickbags.
Yep.
But yeah, it's going to be really interesting coming up in the next few years when these companies start having to appease the fans again, especially the ones that were absolute dicks about it, like Ooblets. It'll be really interesting. Plus, something else is that since the Epic Game Store doesn't have a review section, the only news you'll be able to find about reviews for a game is when they came out. So, games that are broken on release, and that's a very large percentage these days. The only reviews that are going to be out there are going to be, of those broken releases. So I think the lack of user reviews is going to come back and bite Epic in the ass eventually.
Mm-hmm. I think it will. I definitely believe it will. I mean, anything could happen or change, but...
Mm-hmm. Or we could just be cranky old men and, it's not the kids that are wrong, it's us. But let's be honest. It's the kids that are wrong.
No, the kids are wrong. Kids are wrong. Okay.
But, hey, there's some old men that are wrong as well.
Yeah, yes? Is that your segue for this one?
Yeah, let's go with it.
All right. EA's infamous defense for Battlefront 2's awful grind wins a Guinness World Record.
Yeah.
So this was, 2 years ago now? That there was the pride and accomplishment downvote snafu on Reddit, where it got 600 and something thousand. It says here 667,821 downvotes.
Yeah, I'm actually having trouble pulling up the article. So, yeah, I mean, it's been long enough that it actually popped up in an Assassin's Creed game, making fun of it. I believe it was Origins, where you ask, well, why can't I just buy the accomplishment or the medal that I need to be able to bypass this side quest chain? And they go on about talking about how can you have any pride and accomplishment if you just buy it, right?
I mean, that's funny, but at the same time, I don't know. Fuck 'em. It feels like one of those really terrible attempts at humor that doesn't actually get it.
Well, it made a lot. If you knew about the defense, it's a funny joke, but it still fit with the overall theme of the game, and it felt like it fit in dialogue wise. It wasn't a Borderlands joke, it just wasn't ham fisted in there. I mean, it was ham-fisted, but it still, had some sort of context that made sense.
Yeah,
it wasn't a manatee joke.
That's good.
Let me guess, you don't know that term.
No.
It makes fun of Family Guy. It's from a South Park episode. Essentially, the Family Guy writers are a tank full of manatees, and they just pull random balls out of a giant pile. And they put them together.
Gotcha.
For all the cutaway jokes.
Interesting. I've never seen that. I mean, I have seen Family Guy, so I know, the cutaway jokes and stuff, but...
Yeah, and they actually took that as the official term as manatee jokes.
That's neat. Learn something new every day.
Or at least they did for a while. I'm not sure if they still do it. But... Getting back on topic, because it seems like we've been going off topic quite a bit today. Fuck EA?
Yeah, fuck EA.
I mean, it's hilarious that it's... Yeah, first of all, the most downvoted comment on Reddit is in the Guinness Book of World Records, but the fact that EA got it...
Mm-hmm.
And a rather... good summary of it. An official post by video games publisher Electronic Arts responding to players' complaints about having to unlock characters such as Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker in Star Wars Battlefront 2 through loot boxes, has 683,000 downvotes. I would have liked to have seen, probably a little bit more depth on what loot boxes are, but I imagine that someone that's looking up the most downvoted comment on Reddit would likely know that.
Yeah, and if you're interested in finding out more, you could Google it.
Mm-hmm.
I used to love the Guinness World Record books. I bought a bunch of them at one point when I was in
elementary school. Yeah.
At the book fairs.
Yeah, same.
I had, I think, 5 or 6 from 2001 or 2002. For 5 or 6 years in a row, and then I stopped getting them. now I kind of want to buy a whole bunch of them. I bet they're really expensive on eBay. Or maybe they're not. Maybe they're really cheap.
Well, why don't you just buy some Guinness instead? Actually, they are the beer company.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, you know why they produced the Book of World Records then?
Doesn't the story go that it was due to like constant arguments about stuff
bar trivia
in their bars? Yeah, bar trivia.
Sort of like the Michelin stars is from the Michelin Tire Company as a travel guide.
Yeah.
Hey, we may have. Hey, I didn't know that. Volume 2 now of brewing.
There's like they're anywhere from like $10 to $20 a pop on eBay. Some of the older ones are a lot cheaper. Probably they're in really bad shape. But yeah, there was, and in all of them, there were always like scantily clad women in bikinis, like in something that had to do with like beauty or breast size or whatever. And like little kid Jared with his shitty dial-up internet sometimes was like, oh, I just want to see a pretty girl. I want to see some boobs. So I'd go get my Guinness World Record books and like look at all the pictures of the girls in there. Be like, oh yeah, boobies. But then I got high-speed internet, and well, the rest is history.
Oh, well, at least now we're able to track. What year was the last one you had?
I think it would have been 2005, and that's around the time we got high-speed internet. I was like 15, give or take, depending on exactly the month and everything. But I was around 15 when we got high-speed internet for the first time, so that checks out.
And something else to check out?
Yeah.
I mean, that works.
That does work. There's an official KFC dating sim, and Colonel Sanders is the cutest anime boy.
So, this is proof that we're in a weird timeline, huh?
I mean, I'm okay with this part of the timeline.
I saw this earlier today, and I thought it was a joke. I really did, but no, this is an actual game that's coming out. This is a visual novel dating sim, and it's on Steam right now. Where according to some of the people that I've read comments on, it's more of a promance than a romance, where you're getting to know Colonel Sanders and you're essentially at high school or at a university. And it's just weird. But, I mean, this isn't the weirdest of tie-in promotional video games, because we've seen like the Burger King Xbox games back in the day, and those were pretty strange at times.
Yeah, most of those were pretty good, though.
I remember on I believe it was the Genesis, back when 7-Up had the Cool Spot character. They had actually a fairly decent platformer where you were trying to rescue 7-Up cans or something. And of course, there's Pepsi Man.
Yep, Pepsi Man. I love this. I'm looking at the Steam page, and down at the bottom, like all the features. You go through all the features at the bottom. Officially created by KFC. No, really. KFC has done a couple of video games before. They did one that was a VR thing. Yeah, it was like a VR like training.
Yeah, that was more for their training. But I mean, they have all sorts of weird things. They have Professor Dog, that's a corgi that's sitting on a pedestal teaching class. What? You found Professor Corgi?
I'm just looking at all of
Dog?
this. Yeah, I'm just looking at all this. I love it. Wait, is that a sentient stove?
I think so, yes.
Yes, please. Oh, I can't wait for this. Is it free?
No, I think that's actually a deep fryer. I don't know. I don't know what the price tag is going to be on this. But the features: 9 lovable characters, multiple hours of playthrough, dateable Colonel Sanders, a secret ending, secret recipes, double, cooking battles, battles, Earn a degree from a fictional culinary school. 11 herbs and spices. Cute miniature food and officially created by KFC. No, really.
So if you search it, it says free underneath the name. Now that could be, since all it says is planned release date, September 24th. That could just be like a mistake or a glitch of some kind. But I'm hoping that it is free as a promotion. I mean, I like KFC. I don't go there very often. There's not one near me.
Yeah, same.
That's the thing. Most of my fast food choices, like if I'm going to get fast food, I'm just going to get whatever's close. And 99% of the time, that's McDonald's or Taco Bell. McDonald's is partly driven by my child. But, you know, McDonald's and Taco Bell are very close to my house. I've got a couple other things here in town, but
I
have a KFC.
Yeah, I got a local burger place that's actually pretty damn good. I have Pizza Hut, which I realize isn't technically fast food, but work with me here. I have a Taco Bell and a Subway that's within, walking distance for me. But the Taco Bell, it's, understaffed, and they're not overly popular, but they're about the only Mexican in town. Or Mexican, massive sarcasm quotes. So, they have to focus on, like, the drive-through, and last time I was there for about half an hour just to order my damn drink. So I could walk home with it.
Yeah.
Subway there's pretty good, though.
I mean, there's a bunch of fast food restaurants in town, but, like, the close ones that will go to is, like, McDonald's, Taco Bell.
Yeah, typically whenever I'm out and about getting food, I like picking more local places that aren't part of big chains.
Yeah.
Like I went to, a 50s diner one time when I was out on one of my thrifting adventures. That was fairly fun, but they were obviously in the middle of remodeling, so it kind of killed the atmosphere. But yeah, I typically don't go to big fast food restaurants anymore.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to go date Colonel Sanders. He really is very cute. Colonel Sanders is not...
Yeah, they've recast Colonel Sanders not too long ago to be a more young, hip Colonel Sanders.
And, I mean, Colonel Sanders does look like sort of a happy, congenial grandfather in all of the pictures. I'm looking to see if there's any photos of him younger.
Well, what's kind of funny was all the stories about the real Colonel Sanders that whenever he would go to a KFC and he wasn't happy with it, he would pitch a fit. If this is right, Colonel Sanders is a young man. Hang on, let me double check.
Okay, these are the newer.
Yeah.
The new person.
Yeah. I'm looking for the actual Colonel Sanders, and...
Oh, here's a hipster Colonel Sanders.
What, does he have avocado chicken? Okay, here he is.
Not in the photo, which is,
I
feel
got-
like a missed
I got one.
opportunity.
It's not anime boyish, but I'll send it to you through Discord.
He does have a boyish face, but not in an anime sense. Yeah. And then he very quickly morphs into an old man.
Mm-hmm. Well, remember, he grew up in the 30s and 40s, so photos were a lot rarer.
Yeah. Well, it's not even that. I mean, in this photo... Let's see. Is there a year for this one? At age 21.
So...
Blah, blah,
blah. So 50s?
Yeah, possibly.
Oh, let's see. He was...
I'm not going to read through this whole article, but there's a picture here that says he was a tire salesman.
Wait, I have the age or his birth date wrong. He was born in 1890. So 21. That'd be 1910s.
That's probably this picture at the top. Oh, no. Those are... Oh, it looks like that's Photoshop, actually.
Well,
I don't know.
If you go to the actual Wikipedia, there's a couple pictures when he's younger, and Guy does have a very boyish face.
Good to know. But yeah, cute anime Colonel Sanders is much, much cuter. So I can't wait to date him and snuggle him.
You just want to get all 11 herbs and spices, if you know what I mean.
I definitely want all 11 of those herbs and spices.
But let's be perfectly honest. You want to date Professor Dog.
Oh, I definitely want to date Professor Dog. I want to date everyone.
And they went full anime with this in the trailer, by the way. Actually, Colonel Sanders in KFC is really popular in Japan. Have you ever looked into that?
Yeah, I have.
So it feels like maybe this is, playing to their Japanese audience as well. I kind of just remembered that. Wait a minute. Colonel Sanders is very popular in Japan. I guess we'll find out in just under 2 weeks just what happens with the secret spice.
Yeah, if it's free, I'm definitely playing it immediately. Let's see, September 24th. So yeah, two weeks. So we'll do the September Game Club, and then the next week I'll play it to have for October 1st. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. If it costs money, I might buy it anyways. Depends on how much money it is. But it would make sense if they would do it for free and just use it as a promotion.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Think about it. We're talking about KFC.
We are talking about KFC. We've been talking about KFC for quite some time.
Like when you want to go defrost some chicken and make some barbecue.
Got some chicken in the fridge. I don't have any barbecue sauce, though. It's leftover chicken, which is still delicious. But I couldn't cook
I'm
it.
sorry. I saw one comment in the discussions, and I have to share this joke. Is this the sequel to Hate Your Old Boyfriend? Oh, now we know the bad ending.
The humans have taken back the Earth.
Yeah, now we know the bad ending for all the storylines. They were chickens all along.
Alrighty. Well, that does it for our news topics this week. So we shall move it on over to Community Corner. Did we have any tweets?
I didn't see any tweets, and I don't recall seeing any email. At least last time I checked. I could go check real quick. Go rummage around the bag, turn it upside down, shake it. See if there's anything that falls out outside of some mouths. And of course,
I just checked.
Yeah, I'm definitely not stretching while I'm double checking the email.
We got an advertising thing from Joe Sinkwitz, who wants us to join his network to do product reviews and influencer campaigns. But no, thank you.
No, we're holding out for the Colonel.
I'm also not interested in joining up with a network on YouTube. I don't want to get involved in any of that shit. Oh, hey, this is my personal email I just swapped back over to.
I was about
learning about attendance for my kid. School attendance and illness reminders. That's my top email right now. Cool.
Oh, mine's alerting me that there's a deal for Sid Meier's Civ 6 and XCOM 2 from Is There Any Deal?
So, game night for next week, I guess, since you're a definite no on...
just thinking about it, I don't want to deal with it anymore.
Okay.
You guys can play.
Well, next week on the list, I believe, is Warframe. I don't have the list pulled up right now. I can go double check. Yes, Warframe. And then Cards Against Humanity. And then DEF CON is back on the list as well. So, more suggestions from community, please. Otherwise, I'll just stick some stuff on there and we'll see what we get. But yeah, Warframe, there have been massive changes to the game, definitely since the last time I played.
Yeah, did you play even when the first open world came out?
Nope.
Oh,
I haven't played in a long
I could drag you guys through Well, do you wish to have the more temperate open world or the cold open world? Cold open world's better, by the way.
Okay.
I would suggest, if you're planning on attending Warframe Night, load up the game, make sure it's patches, because it has a secondary launcher that doesn't go through Steam, that runs the patching. And go to the, if you're part of the old Kerbalcast clan, go to the dojo and grab a couple things. There's a Archwing launcher that you can get from there. That is, it's not required, but it makes life a lot easier. It allows you to be able to jetpack around. Pretty much like you enjoyed in Anthem.
Sweet. I like jetpacking. But yeah, that's it for that then. Where can they get in touch with us, Rach?
Well, you can contact us at vglpodcast@gmail.com, just like random YouTuber did. Or you can tweet us, VGLpodcast, on the Twitter. So, doobly-doo.
For a Discovery Q, yes indeed.
And, hey, I got one right away once again. But, of course, I also had it loaded up.
I also have one. What is yours?
Blasphemous, also known as my spirit animal. So, Blasphemous is a punishing action platformer that combines fast-paced, skilled combat of hack-and-slash games with a deep, evocative narrative core, developed through the exploration of a huge universe comprised of non-linear levels. So, sounds like it's throwing in some Metroidvania as well, which it is tagged for. Has a very sort of Dead Cells look about it. It looks like it would be right at home on an SNES cartridge, really. With a little bit more Metroidvania than some of the more Metroidvania games not Metroid, but Castlevania than some of the Metroidvania games that have been lately. So a very interesting game, and it is developed by Team 17, so Worms fame. And it'll be interesting to see what the actual storyline is. And hey, there's a giant crying baby with blood comes out of its eyes and a blindfold on. So there is that as well.
Yay? Question?
Well, I'm assuming you're fighting the baby. It's a very late term abortion.
Very late term. Alright, well, I got one too for my first game that wasn't the same one you had. Age of Empires Definitive Edition. I mean, Age of Empires 2, I think, is the one that everybody remembers the most. But, I mean, Age of Empires 2 came from Age of Empires 1, or was a sequel to Age of Empires 1, so...
Yeah, which,
this does have...
Yeah, isn't this on, Game Pass?
I have no idea. Possibly. But, Age of Empires... this does have mixed
Age of
reviews.
Empires Definitive Edition is on Game Pass.
Busy. Okay. There's a lot of people saying that this is very buggy.
So I would suggest if you have Game Pass, go try it out there before considering buying it.
Looks like you can get Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition when that releases in November on Game Pass as well. Which that makes sense because Xbox or Microsoft bought them. Or bought it. Bought the rights to it. Bought the studio. I don't know. They own it now.
My next game, Unrailed.
Nice.
Well, I guess we should talk about it again, just in case people skip that. It is a cooperative or competitive, depending on the mode you're in, train building or railroad building game where you're trying to traverse between one station to the next while protecting your train and making sure it doesn't derail. Minecraft-esque graphics with some resource collection. It really depends on just how in-depth they go with it. And they're talking about adding a more polished experience and add more content as well for the time span of early access, which they're planning to be 3 to 6 months. And it is a fairly cheap game overall. So yeah, you're not saving that much on the 2-pack though. which is a little bit odd. Usually it's a bigger discount than that. Anyway, you're up next.
Yeah, Rings of Saturn. Delta V, Rings of Saturn. I'm just going to read this. The unexpected discovery of valuable minerals within the Rings of Saturn has sparked a thriving space excavation industry. Experience hard sci-fi, top-down space simulator with every aspect backed up by real physics and science. This doesn't look good from a graphics perspective, but if they pull off, an actual genuine, real science type game, I'm all down for that. There's not a lot of those. So it would be interesting to see how it plays out. Plus, I'm always into space stuff, and there's definitely mining, and looks like there's some combat and stuff. So I'm in, as long as it's not like a piece of hot garbage. Oh, you get a demo. Holy shit. I'll have to do that. It's only $10 too.
Yeah, something that I'll add this to the list anyway because it looks really interesting, but it's a VR game, so Battle Wake. It's a VR pirate sim, but with some mystical elements as well, so magic and a little bit more fantastical creatures. So, yeah, unfortunately it's VR only, it seems, and it doesn't look like there's any plans to make it a non-VR game. But hey, Jim could be interested in it, right?
Yes.
And it's also kind of... it looks like VR is slowly starting to progress from just experience-based games. So, hey, maybe VR is actually going to be more substantive in the future. I realize that, yes, there are more deep VR games out there. It's just I don't follow VR enough to really know them. So it's good to see them popping up more and more. So, you got one?
Yeah. Pirates Outlaws. Pirates Outlaws is an easy-to-play roguelike card game. Build your deck and combos to become a reputable pirate. I mean, this just looks neat.
That looks
Pirate
familiar.
Deck-building card game.
I mean,
Or pirate-themed deck builder.
Yeah, it definitely feels familiar, but I haven't seen this particular one. I like the art style on it, that more simplistic art style.
Yeah. I like it also. Very clean, very
smooth.
So,
I got one. Fantasy General 2. Armies once again draw battle lines in the war-torn land of Kalendoria. And a new generation of commanders will test their bravery and tactics against each other. Fantasy wargaming is back. So turn-based strategy, 4X, Heroes of Might and Magic-esque, from the looks of it.
Well, that sounds neat.
It's showing a lot of very big dragons, some large armies. It has a kind of a mixture of Civ and, like I said, it feels like a little bit of Heroes of Might and Magic and just building up armies in a fantasy world. There's essentially a fantasy version of Civ that I'm just blanking on. I have one version of it, but can't recall what it is. But yeah, it looks very interesting.
Cool. I'm still looking. I got several that you had.
Well, sorry.
Oh, this is...
Well, I just got Age of Empires Definitive Edition. Or no, wait. Scratch that. I got Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition.
Nice.
So it's like Age of Empires Definitive Edition, only one better.
Only one more.
I mean, I think really if you don't recall either of these games, which honestly I barely recall Age of Empires, it's go check it out, see what you think of it.
The Star Wars Edge of Empires one was my favorite in that vein. I don't remember what it was called, but it was a Star Wars, almost like a Star Wars skin of Age of Empires.
Republic Commando?
No, that's first-person shooter.
Oh no.
So it's Galactic Battlegrounds.
Galactic
Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds. Yep, I played the shit out of that game. Play it today if I had it. Probably find it on the interwebs somewhere in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got one. Build.
Build what?
Build.
Build what?
Build.
Build what?
It says build and design your own fantasy world using over 600 plus items in this relaxing sandbox game. No missions, no objectives, no timers. Just stress rebuilding, exploration. And
Pretty much what we
vibes.
wanted out of Sea of Thieves then.
Yeah. I like the idea of this, but I don't know how well it'll do
It's
in
sort
a
of
world that's full of
sort of like
survival games that have creative modes.
Well, I was thinking sort of like that train game that was the wooden train that you just build.
Yeah, Tracks. Still play that game sometimes with my kid.
I got a brawler, River City Girls. This is the sequel to River City Ransom from the NES days. You're now playing the girlfriends that are trying to save their boyfriends by going and beating the ever-living shit out of everyone. So, gender equality?
Yay! So that's just
It's just,
breasts. No, I'm sorry, and the one that I'm looking at. This is just breasts exposed for my pleasure on the Steam page.
you've got to tame one then, because I've seen a lot more than that on the Steam page.
I've seen a few, but it's always a little surprising to me to see that on Steam, just because of how they have been in the past. It's like this game is the big warning thing. This game is marked as adult only. You're seeing this game because you've set your preferences to allow this content. I'm gonna put it. It doesn't look particularly great. It's a visual novel called Love the Limelight.
I don't think I'm going to add to the show notes if it does that.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. If you want to go look it up and see the breasts exposed for your pleasure, you can do that, dear listener, by searching for Love the Limelight on Steam, or just by going to any porn site in existence.
And probably...
Oh, never mind. There's more breasts.
And probably...
With nips.
Well, obviously, we know what you've been playing and haven't been talking about.
This is like an orgy scene. Oh my. There's more breasts. How did I miss all of these screenshots my first time through?
Do you need a moment? Oh, never mind. You're done.
Nah, I'm good. I'm done.
So, I've got Pester Quest, which is set in the Homestuck Hive Swap universe, telling a story out of that. It's a visual novel? Question mark. I mean, I had a friend years ago that was big into the Homestuck universe. He was a little bit odd, but I mean, if you're invested in that, this is definitely a pickup for you because, you know, I believe the comic has ended ages ago. So, yeah, now that there's games coming out about it, there's this and there was another one that's in the universe that tells more stories out of it. There you go for it. Let's see. Yeah, it's a visual novel.
Got you. My queue's done.
I mean, I didn't really have a lot to say about it because I still have a couple more on my queue. What the hell? I'll add this. Knights and Bikes. This is from Double Fine, so gotta be a little bit careful about this because sometimes they do good, sometimes they are absolutely horrible. I mean, one of their games is in the bottom 100 on Steam reviews. Knights and Bikes is a hand-painted action-adventure set in Britain on a British island in the 1980s. You'll play as Necessa and Demazira, tough, imaginative kids exploring the island in the Goonies-inspired tale. An adventure that sees them pedaling into danger, seeking treasure, and ancient mysteries to solve. I mean, it looks rather quirky. It looks silly. But it could be really interesting. But once again, it just comes down to hey, what side of Double Fine is this from? The shitty side or the decent side?
Right.
So, sorry, it was published by Double Fine. It was developed by Foam Sword, which that's their only game on Steam. Just make it. I wanted to clear that up. Okay, I'll add this as well. Once again, my discovery queue is chock full of good things. Endless World. Endless World is a 3D idle casual ARPG. So there's something for you, right? And it's free. As a 3D idle casual ARPG, explore Endless World and become stronger with every battle. Collect rare equipment and recruit over 40 legendary heroes to help you on your adventure. In the end, every defeat you have, that's how they say it, every defeat you have will have you only one make you stronger. I think there was some English there.
In the end, every defeats you have will only make you stronger. Yep. Or maybe just a typo they missed, but...
I mean, it looks interesting. It's it's an idle game, so, right?
Yeah.
But...
I mean, I like an idle game occasionally.
I mean, it looks like it's a little bit more involved than most idle games, at least. So, I'd say it's worth at least a look.
The fact that it's a full 3D idle game is interesting to me. I mean, I'm sure there are other ones out there, but most of them are 2D or even just like a menu. So, I find that interesting.
Yeah, and my last one is just a porn game. I must have been hanging out with you too long.
Get some of that good porn.
Well,
or maybe bad porn, since it's on Steam.
Oh, it's
can't tell.
pixelated porn. It's not very high fidelity.
Pixelated porn is the worst.
It's some sort of action RPG, and looks like every time you lose, you lose.
Wink.
Well, there's a picture of her getting fucked by a sunflower. So,
Tell me more. Zip. Actually, that's not true. That would imply that I'm wearing pants right now.
Yeah, and would also imply that you then spend your stamina on Colonel Sanders.
I did. I gave all of my stamina to Colonel Sanders. He has my heart and soul right now.
Boy, that got awkward, didn't it?
Did it? I didn't feel awkward.
Well, that's because you have no shame.
That is very true. So that's my cue done, and your cue done?
Yeah, that was it. Finished off. I saved my...
Did you now?
Well, not for you. Don't you wish?
I do. Alrighty. Well, with us having finished...
Oh, my.
Why don't you hit him with those socials, Rage?
Well, I've been Caffeine Rage. You can find me on YouTube, Gaming with Caffeine Rage. You can find me on Twitch, Caffeine_Rage, and you can find me on Twitter, Caffeine Rage over there as well. And if you wish to talk to me on Steam, you can find me, well, once again, Caffeine Rage. And you've been...
Gaming Psychologist. You can find me on the YouTubes by searching for Gaming Psychologist. Over on Twitter at JMA4707 or on Steam at JArthur4707. I guess also, we talk about Game Pass so much. If you wanted to, because the friend system is weird, if you want to follow me on Game Pass, this goes all the way back to my Xbox Live days. My old and busted with underscores between the words.
Yeah, how about that? Being a little, well, seeing your future, I guess, huh? Well, I'm
Indeed.
Caffeinated Rage over there because Caffeine Rage was attached to an old account that I lost when I changed to Gmail, and Yahoo locked me out of my email. I just didn't want to bother with it, and I'm pretty sure I just made this account originally because GTA 4 required Game Pass, or sorry, Games for Windows. to be able to do little things like, save the game. So, hey, one place where I've bricked my branding somewhat.
Yeah. I don't have branding, so...
No, but what you do have is the password for this week. And if you'll wish to let know, Jared, exactly what episode of the podcast you're coming from, the password for this week is Keelhauled. Keelhauled. What I would like to do to get a private server, go Keelhaul.
Indeed.
Either that or just, have the monkey shit on the developer some more.
He's gonna keep shitting on you until you give me what I want. Well, I haven't coded it yet. Well, you better work fast. You're gonna be covered in shit.
Yeah, I've always
don't mind me.
I've always admired monkeys. Now even more so. But something else that we admire is our lovely, lovely patrons. VGL Podcast Podbean.com is provided by our lovely patrons, and you can find more about your patronship. Patreon.com/VGL Podcast. If you wish to contribute to the show, you can send us an email, vglpodcast@gmail.com, with your letters, voicemails, game-related topics, or just tweet them to us at VGL Podcast on the Twitter. Our intro and outro music is On the Ground by Ken McLeod, and our Discovery Cube music is Doobly Doo by the same artist. You can find his work over at Incompetech.com, and...
as always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice. Bye-bye now.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.